Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network novel. Comprehensive film. Starting from saving beauty Meng Yu, Gao Pan traveled to a parallel world similar to Aquarius and became Gao Yuliang's nephew. At the beginning, he saved Meng Yu and started building his own commercial empire from Jinghai. Internet, finance, logistics, all kinds of industries, he wants to set up a real big enterprise. In the millennium at the turn of this century, in this golden age full of opportunities, embark on a wild journey of getting rich. This book includes books such as Fury and In the Name of the People. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. By Jinhan's Encounter, Seeking Flowers and Tickets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My name is Gao Pan, a native of Handong. I am just 25 years old and graduated with a bachelor's degree from Handong University. Yes, it's the legendary political and legal department of Han University. I am currently running a company with a few friends. It's not easy to run a company in this era, but that's for ordinary people. In Handong, I am not worried about this issue because I have a good uncle. After my parents' divorce due to conflicting beliefs, I lived with my father. Unfortunately, my father passed away young due to illness, and my mother is a strong woman at work who has no time to take care of me on weekdays. I was raised by an uncle who served as a professor at Handong University. However, considering that his family is currently at a critical juncture of growth, I wanted to help him, so I left the provincial capital and returned to my long-lost second hometown, Jinghai, intending to explore a new career here. I spent the most wonderful childhood here until I followed my uncle to Luzhou in middle school. It can be said that the city of Jinghai has a very special significance to me. In the evening, in Jinghai City, Handong Province, by Jinhan. Come on, I hope brother will graduate and come home today. Let's all respect him together. In a private room, the lights were red and the wine was green, and several young people were blowing wine bottles at each other's mouths. After the party ended, watching a few childhood friends leave, Gao Pan sat on the sofa feeling somewhat lost. These are all his elementary school classmates, but unfortunately he couldn't find the person he most wanted to contact. After taking a break in the private room for a while, Gao Pan walked out of the room with his pants in his pocket. Just as he left, Gao Pan saw two girls arguing with several members of society in the corridor. Apologize now, immediately. The speaker was a beautiful girl who forcefully grabbed the hand of a bald thug, looking very sharp and fierce. However, her appearance seemed somewhat familiar. Oh, forget it, that's it. It's really embarrassing, I'll leave first. Suddenly, the girl standing on the side hurriedly walked away, covering her face. And the spicy girl named Meng Yu anxiously turned around and shouted, Nana, why are you running? He hasn't apologized to you yet. As she spoke, she let go of the little thug's hand and wanted to chase after Nana, who had left alone. Wait. His wrist was pinched by the bald thug, and this guy had a malicious smile on his face. The people around him also approached with a wicked smile and said, Do you want to leave now? The girl looked at him with vigilance, but was not afraid at all. She grabbed her waist with her right hand and shouted loudly, What do you want to do? Hey, what are you doing? Just want to leave after causing trouble. I know who you're causing trouble with, don't you? Camel Brothers on the road. Whoops. With a punch, the bald thug was knocked down. Gao Pan took out a handkerchief from his shirt pocket, wiped his hands, and then threw it directly onto the ground, which was a blatant contempt. The bald thug got up from the ground in anger, looking angrily at the young man in front of him. The young man in front of me looked around 20. His facial features are delicate, his skin is fair, his black hair is slightly curly, and he is combed in 3 or 7 parts. He wears a pair of silver glasses on his face, giving him a strong scholarly temperament. The watch on the wrist looks very simple, but the blue watch needle inadvertently shows off the word luxury. At first glance, the suit on the body is handmade from imported high-end fabrics. The matching pink shirt and white casual leather shoes inside make it less rigid and serious, but more youthful and energetic. Whether it is the innate luxury on his body, or the beautiful and straight high-end suit and watch, it all indicates that the person in front of him seems not someone he can provoke. The saying goes that people rely on their clothes and horses rely on their saddles, which is also the reason why the other few thugs dare not rush forward to scold Gao Pan after he has let go of the camel. The wealthy people who come here to consume are not something they can afford to offend. Camel, why don't we just forget about it? The little thug next to him also saw that Gao Pan was not an easy person to deal with, and quickly advised the camel to calm down. The camel spat and held on to its pocket, forcing it to make up for itself, saying, "Okay, kid, you have guts. Remember this for me, this matter is not over." In fact, this is just a scene, but unfortunately, Gao Pan is a person who likes to take things seriously. "Stop me." The camel's footsteps stiffened, but it still gritted its head and turned around, asking, "What else do you want to do?" "Apologize to this beautiful woman." Gao Pan held his left hand in his pocket, lifted his right hand, and pointed his thumb at Meng Yu, who was still in a daze. "Hey, what can you do if I don't apologize?" The camel also spared no effort, staring at Gao Pan with an unkind expression and asking, "What can we do? Just give it a try and we'll know." A cold voice echoed in the corridor. At the same time, the doors of several private rooms opened simultaneously. A group of sturdy men wearing black suits stood directly next to Gao Pan and shouted in unison, "Mr. Xiao Gao." Gao Pan turned to Meng Yu with a refined and gentle smile, but he was quite indifferent to the orders given by the bodyguards. "It doesn't matter if you take off your arms or legs. You can do whatever you want, as long as you don't cause any harm." "Yes." After speaking, these bodyguards rushed forward. "Ah, help me. Big brother, please spare my life. I dare not dare again." The little thugs were pinned to the ground by the bodyguards and mercilessly swung their sticks onto them. Gao Pan smiled and asked, "Miss, are you okay?" Meng Yu suddenly realized and said in a daze, "Ah, I'm fine. Thank you. What's your name?" Watching the thug being beaten up in front of her, Meng Yu didn't react much. Her identity makes it quite easy to handle these guys in Jinghai. "Ah, let me introduce myself. My surname is Gao and my name is Gao Pan." "High hopes." Meng Yu's voice suddenly rose a lot. She stared at Gao Pan with wide eyes and said, "Are you really Gao Pan? The one from Class 5 of the 81st Affiliated Primary School of Peking University? Do you still remember me, Meng Yu?" Gao Pan was also surprised and then felt extremely surprised. After taking off his glasses, he rubbed his eyes and said, "Are you the old lady from Class 4 next door?" I said, "Why do you look so familiar?" "Oh, be gentle." Gao Pan remembered that Meng Yu, his goddess and playmate from elementary school, had lost contact with this girl after Gao Pan left Jinghai with his uncle. After all, there weren't many penguin account contacts in that era. Meng Yu twisted Gao Pan's ear with a displeased expression and said, "What kind of man? Where have you died all these years?" Hey, big sister, be gentle, be gentle." Suddenly I turn my back, she gleams in sparse and obscure lights. Perhaps this is fate. P.S. Seeking flowers and tickets, seeking everyone's support for the new book. Thank you, everyone. Please note that the protagonist has not watched Kuai Biao, only watched Ren Ming. Chapter 2. Fighting Against Smoking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My old classmate is reminiscing about the past. But this commotion also alarmed the crazy donkey in the private room. The sleazy-looking crazy donkey came out of the private room with the remaining little brother, cursing and cursing. As soon as they arrived at the corridor, they saw a group of 3 camels brutally beaten by Gao Pan's bodyguard on the ground. His grandmother's brother dares to fight, I want to die. After drinking, the crazy donkey's craziness also came up, and he directly reached out with a small knife about to stab Gao Pan. But an ex-Xian, who was working as an undercover agent, grabbed her arm and said, "Big brother, don't cause any trouble. Those guys don't look easy to provoke either." "So what? Big brother, what Jiang Xian said is good. I don't think they will give up either. After all, this is Buckingham. Let's not cause trouble, otherwise the boss won't let us go." The mad donkey suddenly laughed and pointed to the camera, saying, "Boss. Maybe the boss will be watching at this moment. This is his own territory, what are you afraid of? If something really happens, the boss will give us a hug. The reason why I came out is that the boss doesn't like his subordinates who are too cowardly, otherwise I wouldn't have made such a big fuss. Brothers, copy guys and send them to me." Speaking, the crazy donkey ran straight towards Gao Pan with a knife in hand. "Mr. Xiaogao." Just as the bodyguard was about to take action, Gao Pan reached out to signal him not to move, then turned around and kicked him away in the face of the crazy donkey. The knife in the hand of the mad donkey fell to the ground, and an ex-Xian, an undercover agent, seized the opportunity to pretend to be careless and kick it to the side. After moving his legs, Gao Pan said to the remaining bodyguards, "Beat these guys who are smoking." Dehai. The remaining bodyguards also joined the assault line, and screams echoed throughout the corridor. In the office at the end of the corridor. "Sleeping trough, he's pure-hearted and doesn't give me this face, right?" Buckingham's boss slapped the table, directly pulled out a brand new golf club, and then took out the walkie-talkie and shouted, "His mother, come to the corridor for me, someone wants to make trouble." After finishing speaking, he picked up a piece of huasi and carried his golf club, directly leading the younger brothers away. The door at the end of the corridor opens. A chubby man wearing a khaki suit paired with a floral shirt and sunglasses, carrying a golf club, walked towards Gao Pan with a group of thugs who were easy to provoke at first glance. At the same time, all of Jinhan's thugs and security guards rushed towards the corridor on the first floor, walking expressionlessly towards Gao Pan. This battle really scared Meng Yu. She also saw this grand scene for the first time and instinctively grabbed onto Gao Pan's arm beside her. Without Gao Pan's command, the little brothers still used their swing sticks to beat the group of crazy donkeys into the smoke. Gao Pan still wore a gentle smile on his face, and he whispered in Meng Yu's ear, "Why, are you afraid?" Meng Yu stomped her foot and said, "No. Her father is Meng Dehai, she's not afraid of these guys. If these guys really don't open their eyes and do something to her, they will completely anger Meng Dehai. No one in the entire Jinghai can try to save this by Jinhan boss. At least 10 years from now, this guy will have no problem taking care of peanuts. But it's better not to make things too big. This is not called cowardice, this is called from the heart." Looking at Gao Pan, who still let his subordinates beat the crazy donkey without putting himself in his eyes, a hint of resentment flashed in Su Jiang's eyes. Although he also judged from Gao Pan's attire that he was not an easy-going person. But the biggest fear of those in their profession is not being able to control the market. In front of people wandering the rivers and lakes, the character E ranks first in terms of benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trustworthiness. Since they call themselves Big Brother, then you have to cover up your subordinates in your own field, otherwise how can others believe you? Gao Pan doesn't give Su Jiang such a face, and Su Jiang will let this guy know who has the final say in the night of Jinghai. Security and social personnel surrounded Gao Pan and Meng Yu in 3 circles. Gao Pan's face remained unchanged, while Meng Yu pretended to be calm, but her trembling legs still betrayed her true thoughts. Su Jiang stared at Gao Pan for a moment before speaking up, "Brother, what is your surname?" "Do not use your surname, Gao." Gao Pan waved his hand, and the bodyguards stopped their movements, but still held on to the arms of the mad donkey and others and made them all kneel on the ground. Meng Yu was stunned when she saw an ex-Xian with a blue nose and swollen face, but the current situation was not the right time to speak. She could only suppress her anger and stare fiercely at an Xian. Anshin's gaze dodged and she lowered her head, feeling too guilty to look at Meng Yu. She could only pray that this sister-in-law would not expose his identity on the spot. The mad donkey exclaimed excitedly upon seeing Su Jiang, "Boss, save me, save." Gao Pan squatted down and slapped the mad donkey in the face, then shook his hand and wiped a handful of reassuring clothes next to him before standing up in disgust and saying, "Who made you talk?" He made a gesture and said, "Applause, pull hard, pay attention to propriety, just pull out your teeth, and don't turn the person's back." Meng Yu pointed at an Xian and said, "Strike this guy to death. Strike him hard." Anshin suddenly looked up and asked in a strange accent, "Ah, big sister, why? Where did I provoke you? You're going to beat me to death." "My aunt, how did I provoke you again?" Meng Yu angrily hugged her shoulder and said, "I just don't like you. You've been hanging out with all sorts of people at a young age, and you really deserve to be beaten." Gao Pan casually played with the trigger in his hand and said, "Did you hear me? You didn't follow what my sister you said. Beat this guy to death." "Yes, Mr. Xiaogao. Hey, pay attention to propriety, don't hit too hard." Meng Yu was also afraid of damaging an Xian and spoke up to remind her. This completely ignoring Su Jiang's actions made him quite angry, and no one dared to ignore him like this even after he got up. But Su Jiang still suppressed his anger and planned to show respect before the enemy. "Brothers are also on the road. I don't know where to hang out." Gao Pan boredly played with the jade ring on his hand and said, "It can't be counted." "Stop, don't call me brother, you don't have the qualifications yet. Let Long Gu hear your name, be careful if someone sends someone to cut your tongue. As for where did it come from? Jingzhou." Speaking of which, Gao Pan's face showed a playful expression. Su Jiang's pupils shrank as he came from the provincial capital and was still so arrogant at this time. It seemed like he had really crossed the river. Thinking of this, Su Jiang's face became much more harmless, and he said, "Ah, Mr. Gao, no matter what, you guys are causing trouble. This is my place. You can tell me how to solve this matter." Before understanding Gao Pan's background, Su Jiang dare not easily come to martial arts. Being able to make a living in this Jinghai area, this guy also has two brushes. How does Mr. Su want to solve it? Su Jiang leaned on his golf club and pinched his waist with one hand, saying, "It depends on whether anyone in Jinghai is willing to be a mediator for his brothers." I took out my phone and dialed a number. "Hello, who is that?" "Long time no see, Uncle Bai." "Me, Xiaopan." Su Jiang's eyelids twitched as he sensed a hint of unease from this slightly affectionate address. There seems to be only one person with white characters in their name who can talk to him. Okay. I got it. After a while, a phone call came over. Su Jiang's face changed dramatically as he looked at the number, and his face stretched out in an extremely flattering manner. "Hey, leader, I'm Su Jiang, I'm here." The roaring voice came. "What do you want to do, you idiot? Young Master Gao dares to block it, and you want to die, right? If Gao Xiao doesn't forgive you or something happens, you can dig a hole and bury yourself. Don't bother me with your bad luck." "Ah, leader, could you give me a hint that even if I die, I can still understand?" His forehead was covered in cold sweat, and the intense reaction of Dekaoshan finally made Su Jiang know that he had kicked onto the iron plate. After a moment of silence, a deep voice finally came again. "That high in Luzhou." Su Jiang's pupils suddenly shrank. He knows who Gao Pan's mountain is now. P.S. Seeking flowers and tickets. Chapter 3. Su Jiang, suppressed and frustrated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh, who did I say? It turned out to be Gao Xiao. Haha, isn't this flooding the Dragon King temple? The golf club was thrown to the ground. Su Jiang giggled and wanted to hug Gao Pan's shoulder, but was slapped away by Gao Pan's hand. Gao Pan gave her a disdainful glance, then grabbed Meng Yu's little hand and said, "We don't seem to know each other that well." This arrogant appearance vividly portrays the 4 words, playboy. A hint of anger flashed in Su Jiang's eyes, but he still suppressed his anger and accompanied his smiling face, saying, "What Gao Shao said is that this time it was my brother who did something wrong. Today's consumption brother paid the bill, and the next day I will set up a table to apologize to him." Gao Pan hugged his shoulder and said, "Forget it." Su Jiang's expression stiffened and he said, "What else do you want?" There is a saying that goes, "A fierce dragon cannot surpass a river." Gao Pan belongs to the river-crossing dragon that crosses the river. But there is also a saying that strong dragons do not suppress local snakes. Jiang is the local leader of the Jinghai region. This by Jinhan is Su Jiang's territory card. If we really want to completely provoke this guy, Gao Pan really doesn't have any good fruit to eat. After thinking for a moment, Gao Pan decided to forget about it today. We'll talk about this grudge later and take it slow. After all, he brought too few people to the concert hall this time, and the guy in front of him was indeed a tough guy. Now Su Jiang's anger has reached its limit. He decided that if the guy in front of him continued to be so arrogant, he would know why the flowers were so red, and at best, he would go in and squat for a few years. Let them kneel down and apologize. Gao Pan pointed at Zhang Lofzi and his little brothers. Then, starting from the little brother on Su Jiang's left side, he turned his body and drew a big circle, pointing all the way to the little brother on Su Jiang's right side. "And they, all kneel down and apologize to me and this lady. Meng Yu cannot be called Miss in KTV. This is insulting language, and the formal name should be lady." Gao Pan also gave Su Jiang a step down. If this guy really doesn't know what to do and doesn't want to compromise, then he can only let his bodyguards protect him and Meng Yu run away first. Good. Did you hear everything his mother? A group of things that don't have eyes scared Xiao Gao and the lady. Don't kneel down and apologize to them. Upon hearing this, Su Jiang's younger brothers knelt down in unison and shouted, "I'm sorry, Mr. Xiao Gao." And Ms. Meng didn't apologize. "Sorry, Ms. Meng." Su Jiang's face was once again adorned with a hypocritical smile. "So, are you satisfied now, Mr. Xiao Gao?" Gao Pan nodded and waved his hand, "Let's go. Move aside, move aside." The bodyguard wearing black sunglasses rudely pulled Su Jiang aside, with several black-clad bodyguards leading the way and helping Gao Pan make his way. A smile curved from the corner of Gao Pan's mouth, and he took Meng Yu's arm and walked out of this entertainment club with her. "Jiang, is this all that matters?" Su Jiang spat angrily and said, "Damn it, don't you still want to hold that kid down and beat him up? He's just a playboy from the provincial capital. He'll leave in a few days. If he can't provoke him, he won't provoke him." His grandmothers put a knife at the beginning of the word Ren. Unable to resist, the knife pierced his heart and pointed, "You know what? Go away, go away. What are you still waiting for when everyone has left? Why don't you just do what you need to do?" Surrounded by black bodyguards, Meng Yu felt her mind blank. Today's scene was her first time experiencing it, like a movie from Hong Kong Island. "Gao Pan, what are you doing now?" Meng Yu asked in a daze. "They are all just graduating college students, why is the gap so big?" Gao Pan smiled and said, "I'm not doing anything. I just started a small company with friends and now I want to go back to Jinghai to invest, that's all. Not returning home for wealth and status is like a night trip in a luxurious robe. Anyway, this place can be considered my second hometown." Meng Yu's eyes lit up and she said, "So, that means you'll be stationed in Jinghai from now on." "I guess so. Long Go from the provincial capital is too ruthless, and he can't compete for development in business. There are 3 reasons why Gao Pan chose Jinghai, where he grew up, as his first base instead of Luzhou, where his uncle is located. Firstly, this is the starting point of my uncle's career. Uncle has been deeply cultivating and working here for many years. In addition, with his background as the head of the Department of Political Science and Law at Handong University, it can be said that every corner of Jinghai is filled with the old guard of the uncle. There are people in the court who are good at handling affairs, so there is no need to be afraid of being difficult when doing business here. Secondly, I came here for a reason to avoid suspicion. After all, uncle's identity in Luzhou and whatever he does will always make people say. Now is a crucial period for uncle's promotion, so we cannot leave anyone with any leverage. Thirdly, they come here specifically to investigate and manipulate people. This is the most crucial one. Mr. Xiao Gao. The driver opened the rear door of the Mercedes-Benz S-Series and respectfully bowed, asking for high anticipation to board. A smile curved around Gao Pan's mouth and he said, "Old classmate, should I take you back?" Meng Yu sat on Gao Pan's car without hesitation and said, "Of course, big boss, will you let me take a taxi back without seeing me off?" "Get in the car." "Yes, where do you live?" "Public Security Family Courtyard." "Hey, Public Security Family Courtyard, Uncle Meng hasn't moved yet." Meng Yu smiled and didn't answer the sentence. Instead, she looked at the scenery outside the window and said, "They all call you Mr. Xiao Gao. What business are you doing now and what projects are you responsible for?" Gao Pan touched the jade ring and said absent-mindedly, "I used to just take a casual job at a friend's company. This time, I want to come over and do a good job in my career." "What business do you want to do?" "Hotels, finance, high-tech, whatever has development prospects, I will do it." Meng Yu doesn't believe in finance or high-tech at all, but in the physical industry of hotels, she can say, "If you're running a hotel, why don't you meet my dad first? Maybe he can give you some good advice." Gao Pan leaned back in the car with a smile and said, "I'll just wait for your words. I'll visit Uncle Meng another day, let's forget about today. What does it look like to come over tonight with a strong alcohol smell?" "That's right. Alright, let's get off here." The car stopped, and Meng Yu showed a sweet smile and waved her hand as she entered the community. After watching Meng Yu go upstairs, Gao Pan put away his smile and said, "Shaoli, let's go." At that moment, the phone rang. Gao Pan's expression changed, and then he straightened up and answered the phone. "Uncle, are you still not resting so late?" "Xiao Pan, how are you doing? Have you settled down yet?" A deep and magnetic voice came from the opposite side, and just by listening to the voice, one could tell that this was probably a majestic man. "Ah, I've settled down now. It's bothering you. I didn't tell you since it's already so late, so I thought I would report the situation to you tomorrow." "Uncle, I'm almost hanging up with Meng Dehai and Uncle Meng." Meng Dehai was that little Meng from the criminal investigation team before. It's him, now he has become the director of the city's public security bureau. "Do you have any further instructions from the elderly?" There was a moment of silence. "I heard that there seems to be a crackdown on organized crime in Jinghai. Please give a message to Xiaoming to dig deeper and not let any bad people go." "Okay, I got it, Uncle. Don't worry." The phone hung up and Gao Pan leaned directly against the car seat. At this moment, the driver asked, "Mr. Xiao Gao, where are you going?" "The beautiful scenery at dawn. This place is a villa area in Jinghai." Buzzing, the engine restarted, and the Mercedes-Benz with the Hane brand was flying away. PA, seeking flowers and tickets. Chapter 4. Analysis of Meng Dehai, seeking flowers and votes. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Opening the door and watching the lights turn off, Meng Yu was overjoyed. Shaking off the shoes on his feet, he grabbed the slippers with his hand and sneaked towards his room. Just as I pushed the door open, the desk lamp was turned on by someone. Ah! The sudden light frightened Meng Yu and she threw away the slippers in her hand. She covered her small chest with an uncertain expression on her face, clearly frightened. There was a middle-aged man sitting on her bed holding his shoulders, with a furrowed brow as he looked at her and said, "Where did you go crazy in the middle of the night? Lao Meng, what are you doing in my room without sleeping at night?" Meng Yu wants to take the lead and suppress her father's momentum. Meng Dehai snorted coldly, "Don't change the topic. What did you do tonight? It's already early in the morning before coming back, what does it look like?" "No, I just had a little drink with my friends." Meng Yu bowed her head and rubbed her feet, looking a little guilty. "I haven't done anything." Bang! A tap on the table made Meng Yu tremble with fear. "Tell me where you went and who you hung out with tonight, and be honest with me. If you don't explain clearly, don't sleep." Meng Dehai was very angry. Li Ming from a girl's family just returned home. What does this look like? What do you want your colleagues to think about this rumor? During the millennium, the older generation placed considerable importance on the reputation of girls. "I went for a ride with Gao Pan." Meng Yu was so frightened that she huddled behind the hangar, trembling and afraid to make any sound. After all, it's almost 4 a.m. now, so it's better to tell the truth than to lie. "Gao Pan? Which Gao Pan? Why haven't you heard of him before? When did you meet and what did he do?" Meng Dehai looked at the prisoner with an open demeanor. Meng Yu confessed truthfully, "That's right, it's Gao Pan from Uncle Gao's house next door when I was in elementary school. He even came to our house when he was a child." Uncle Gao next door. The child who always takes the first place in exams. Meng Dehai was deeply impressed by Gao Pan, and then his expression froze. "Didn't you guys lose contact a long time ago? How did you play together today?" Speaking, Meng Dehai unconsciously lit a cigarette. "Old Meng, don't smoke in my room." "Ah, sorry." It was said that way, but Meng Dehai's movements in his hand did not stop at all. He took a puff of smoke and blew a smoke ring out, saying, "Did he proactively contact you? Or did you proactively contact him? Didn't you have no contact with him for a long time?" Meng Yu's face changed and she shrank her head in fear, saying, "Ah, this is how things are." Meng Dehai listened to Meng Yu's experience in by Jinhan and slammed the table again, saying, "It's just nonsense." He covered his chest and took a few breaths before standing up and continuing, "The king of hell is so annoying to little ghosts. Have you ever thought that those little thugs in society would have no choice but to be determined? Do you know? If those extremely vicious social figures were not frightened by themselves, the consequences would be unimaginable. Even if all these people are shot afterwards, it cannot be remedied." Meng Yu stuck out her tongue and whispered, "Isn't it just that I met Gao Pan? By the way, I also met an Xian." Speaking of this, Meng Yu was extremely angry and said, "He's actually hanging out with the little thugs in society. What are you trying to do?" Meng Dehai's face changed and he said, "You didn't call his name, did you?" Meng Yu also guessed from Meng Dehai's expression that he had a task ahead of him. "No, I didn't dare to speak at that time. I just had Gao Pan's subordinates beat him up. I didn't let anyone hit him hard." Looking at his daughter who was trying to defend himself, Meng Dehai rubbed his temples and said with a headache, Forget it, you can continue talking about Gao Pan's matter." "What happened later?" Knowing that Anshin was fine, Meng Dehai also breathed a sigh of relief. As soon as Meng Yu continued to talk about Gao Pan, she couldn't stop talking. The boy who was a bit shy and often played with her as a child left a deep impression on her mind. Upon hearing what happened afterwards, Meng Dehai's eyebrows furrowed again and he said, "I want to come to Jinghai instead of doing business in Luzhou. It seems that the rumor is true." Meng Yu curiously said, "What rumors?" "Now there are rumors outside that my former leader, Gao Yuliang, will be transferred to a key position in the province. If the rumors are false, then Gao Pan will not come to us, but will stay directly in Luzhou." Meng Yu was surprised and said, is that Uncle Gao so powerful? When Gao Yuliang was just transferred to work in Handong, Meng Dehai was just a squad leader of the police station. He rose only after Gao Yuliang left, and the connection between him and Gao Yuliang was not deep. Moreover, at that time, Meng Yu was still young and did not have many concepts about these things. By the time she began to engage with the political and business circles in Jinghai, it was already her college years, and by that time, Gao Yuliang had already been transferred. Meng Dehai nodded and said, "Your uncle Gao became the director of the Department of Political Science and Law at Handong University before the age of 30. Later, he gained the recognition of Mr. Liang and was transferred from Handong University to work in the Jingzhou Procuratorate. Then we were promoted to be vice mayor and part-time political and legal commissar, and then mayor. 5 years ago, he was transferred to Zhou to be the first leader. In less than 20 years, he can climb to his current position. Whether it's his abilities or his connections behind him, he's top-notch. You know, he's only 40.5 years old this year." Speaking of this, Meng Dehai's tone was very envious, even a hint of jealousy could be heard. He is only 3 years younger than Gao Yuliang, but Gao Yuliang is 2 levels higher than him. Currently, Gao Yuliang is the leader of prefecture-level cities and is among the best in the same level in the entire Handong province. In this era, the director of the Public Security Bureau did not concurrently hold the position of deputy mayor as in the future, and now Meng Dehai is just a simple director of the Public Security Bureau. If the rumors are true, Gao Yuliang will be 3 levels higher than him, and his smooth career is something he cannot envy. Meng Yu was stunned for a while, then smiled and said, "I remember when I was a child, Gao Pan called me to play at his house, and I even broke a teapot at Uncle Gao's house. Uncle Gao has a great temper. Not only did he not get angry, but he also said that I am quick-witted and active." Meng Dehai glared at her in anger and said, "They were talking ironically, didn't you hear them? Since Gao Pan said he will come to visit me another day, you can proactively schedule a date for him and not keep him waiting, okay? Don't worry, old Meng." Chapter 5. Invitation of Su Jiang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After arriving in Jinghai, Gao Pan did not rush to take action, but began to inspect the entire city. He plans to start from the hotel industry, and in the future, he will acquire land by opening chain hotels and large shopping malls, and then focus on entering the real estate industry. In the year of Qianxi, it was a time when the land was not valuable. In his spare time, he would also invite Meng Yu out to have a meal together and arrange a date. This girl, whether in terms of family background or appearance and education, meets Gao Pan's criteria for choosing a spouse. Moreover, there is the filter of the childhood goddess, and Meng Yu is the white moonlight in his heart. Of course, he was not in a hurry to visit Meng Dehai. Because of the previous murder case, it is now the busiest time for this Meng Bureau, and Gao Pan plans to wait until he is busy for a while before speaking. Ding-ling-ling, at this time, smartphones were still flip phones, and the emergence and development of smartphones will take a long time. Number, it's an unfamiliar number. Hello, who is that? A burst of hearty laughter came from across the street. Ha ha ha, Mr. Xiao Gao, do you still remember me, Su Jiang? On the other end of the phone, Su Jiang's face was full of flattery. In the past few days, he has investigated the background on Gao Panming's face through his connections. At first glance, he was startled. Even though he was crazy, he didn't have the courage to confront someone from a background like Gao Pan. After thinking for a moment, Gao Pan finally realized which onion this guy was and said, "Oh, it turns out it's Mr. Su. I wonder what Mr. Su's perspective is on making this phone call." Being able to obtain his phone number indicates that this guy named Su Jiang does have some connections and skills, and is qualified to kneel on the ground and look up at him to speak. Seeing that Gao Pan had not hung up the phone, Su Jiang couldn't help but be overjoyed. His plump face became even more relaxed and flattering. "Ah, it's just those things that happened a while ago. I want to give Mr. Xiao Gao some companionship. Are you available on the 20th? The 20th. Gao Pan thought for a moment and said, there's no arrangement at all. Does Mr. Su want it? Okay, as long as there's no arrangement. I'll see you at the dock at 8 p.m. on the 20th. I hope Mr. Xiao Gao can give me some face. Sure. Hanging up the phone, Gao Pan was also curious about who this little thug, surnamed Su, would bring to mediate and intercede for him. This underground king who can make the Jinghai tremble 3 times by stomping his feet has only been praised as a little thug by Gao Pan. Not long after hanging up the phone, another call came. Seeing this number, Gao Pan's expression showed a hint of surprise. Mom, why did you have time to call me? Xiao Pan, have you gone to Jinghai? Well, do some business. Uncle, have you heard about it? I wonder if you can help me. After a moment of silence. If you can prepare enough hard materials on your end, it won't be a big problem to snipe down that person surnamed he. I know now, Mom. After a moment of silence, the woman across from her sighed. Xiao Pan, I don't care what you do. No matter how big the trouble is, Mom can cover it for you. But don't have any further contact with that bastard from the Zhao family in the future. Their family will take you to the fire pit. Gao Pan roast, Mom, is it as serious as you said? Brother Long said some time ago that he would introduce his 3rd sister back from abroad to me. Absolutely not. The voice on the other side was calm, but there was no doubt about the discussion. You child, just listen to your mother and uncle. If you want to find someone from a family background far inferior to ours. That's enough, Mom. A hint of impatience flashed on Gao Pan's face and he said, last time I talked to Xiao Ai, you insisted on beating the Mandarin ducks and stirring us up. You don't think this 3rd son of the Zhao family can do it? What kind of thing can you agree to? I am now an adult and should have the right to make my own choices, right? That's not bad what you're talking about now. Are you sending someone to investigate me? Son, this is my concern for you. Alright, I have something else to do. Come to Yanjing when I have time, I miss you a bit. The phone hung up. Gao Pan sighed and dropped the phone, lying on the sofa. This is the reason why he chose to follow his father instead of his mother with a brighter future when his parents divorced. At this moment, the butler walked over and said, Brother Pan, dialect, affectionate address, there is a person who calls himself Qin Qingchuan who wants to see you. Qin Qingchuan. Oh, I remember. Aunt Gu, please invite him to the living room to have tea first, and I'll change into clothes and go over. Okay. Unlike Uncle Gao Yuliang, who advocates pure Chinese rosewood-style decoration, Gao Pan prefers European luxury style. The entire living room is mainly colored in gold and white. A thick mahogany table is placed in the living room, with exquisitely crafted teacups and several purple clay teapots used to brew different types of tea. A few French classical carved sofas, paired with this table and an extremely luxurious decoration style, also bring a great sense of oppression. There is a khaki camel velvet carpet on the ground, with intricate patterns personally drawn by famous craftsmen with gold threads. Paired with anti-reflective glazed tiles, this hall adds a touch of introversion and a touch of cultural heritage amidst extreme publicity. Qin Qingchuan sat nervously on the sofa. In recent years, he has also visited some wealthy families, but never a single family's hall has been decorated as luxurious and grand as Gao Pan's hall, which makes him behave properly. Sitting on the sofa, he even appears a bit awkward, as if he has been suppressed. The places where wealthy families or senior officials come to visit are decorated in a style that tries to suppress the imposing demeanor of others, so that the host's aura will be unlimited in front of guests who ask for the host's services. Chen Ju, drink tea. Aunt Gu placed the white porcelain large tea cup that had been poured with tea in front of Qin Qingchuan, while Qin Qingchuan quickly got up and took the cup from Aunt Gu's hand, placing it on the table. Please rest, I'll do it, she said. Then he sat awkwardly on the sofa, the atmosphere of the living room becoming increasingly majestic, making him somewhat restless. "Uncle Chen, you've been waiting for so long." Gao Pan walked over with a smile. Chen Qingchuan quickly stood up and ran with a smiling face to greet Gao Pan, holding his hand and saying, "Mr. Xiao Gao, do you still remember me?" Gao Pan smiled and said, "Of course, Uncle Chen, it was thanks to you for picking me up when I was a child." Chen Qingchuan, Gao Yuliang served as the living secretary of the mayor during his time in Jinghai. After Gao Yuliang was transferred from Jinghai, he was promoted to serve in the Anti-Corruption Bureau of the procuratorial system. P.S. Seeking flowers and tickets. Chapter 6. Want to make progress, seeking flowers and votes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mr. Xiao Gao. Just call me Pan, as before, Uncle Chen. Everyone is their own person. Gao Pan sat on the sofa with a smile, legs crossed, showing a calm and atmospheric demeanor. Chen Qingchuan's face lit up with joy and he tentatively said, "Now, Gao Shi, no, is Secretary Yuliang okay?" Gao Pan held a teacup, blew a few sips of hot air, and after taking a sip of tea, said, "Uncle, why don't you still eat it like before? It's fragrant, and your body is twice as good." That's good, that's good." The two fell into silence, and Gao Pan became a little impatient. "Uncle Chen, what's going on with your visit this time?" Looking at Gao Pan's expression, Chen Qingchuan quickly squeezed out a smile and then rubbed the corner of his clothes with some embarrassment, saying, "Xiao Pan, I've been checking the system for a long time, it's been so long and haven't happened yet. I want to make progress." With a solemn expression, Gao Pan placed the teacup in his hand on the table. "Uncle Chen, if you want to make progress, you can't come to me. You need to find an organization to respond, after all, Uncle is no longer in Jinghai. There is an idiom called, 'whip is beyond reach,' haven't you learned it?" Looking at Gao Pan's expression, Chen Qingchuan gritted his teeth and said, "Now everyone knows that Secretary Yuliang is going to take on an important position in the province. Xiao Pan, for all my years of serving Secretary Yuliang, let's give him a hand. Deputy, I've been in this position for almost half my life. I don't want to stay in this position for the rest of my life." The teacup was picked up by Gao Pan again, and he blew the hot air on it and said softly, "Uncle Chen, you can't speak recklessly. Uncle, you haven't even forgotten about this matter when he goes to the province. It's up to the organization and the province to study and decide, and such things can't be spread blindly." Chen Qingchuan's face changed. Gao Pan continued, "To be honest, I also have something to do this time." As he spoke, he placed the teacup on the table, pointed to the sky, and then slapped it on the table. "Do you understand what I mean?" Chen Qingchuan's face changed and he said, "What do you mean? Who do you want to deal with?" "Smart." Gao Pan clapped his hands and stood up, "There is no wind in the air. There are some rumors outside that are true. My uncle may indeed be transferred to the province. But it's not a matter of being appointed and competing for a good position. There are so many capable people in this vast Handong. How do you know that my uncle will definitely come up in the end?" "Right. Uncle Chen has been working here for so many years, and he has also been doing anti-corruption work. Now the province knows that the water in Jinghai has been a bit mixed up since Uncle left. Uncle Chen, you are engaged in anti-corruption work. Do you think some people have lost their bottom line?" Cold sweat rose from his head, and Chen Qingchuan cautiously said, "Xiao Pan, you can't talk nonsense. How could this water get mixed up? How good the public security is." Gao Panmeng slapped the table, and Chen Qingchuan was so smart that he said, "Uncle Chen, I regard you as my own person, so you shouldn't fool me with platitudes. His mother underworld was almost on my head the other day. Who is the final say of Beijing and Shanghai now? When my uncle was here, the atmosphere was not as bad as it is now. Xiao Pan, extinguish the fire." At this moment, the phone rang. Gao Pan looked electric and a smile curved from the corner of his mouth. Hello, uncle, do you have any instructions? The sound is hands-free. Xiao Pan, your mother just called your aunt and said you're in love. A heavy and deep voice rang across the phone. Hey, uncle, don't listen to my mom talking nonsense here. I'll call you back later, Uncle Chen is here. Gao Pan silently pointed out that there was a guest here, who Gao Yuliang knew and was even quite familiar with. Otherwise, he wouldn't have answered this phone call in front of the guests. Obviously, Gao Yuliang across the phone also knew clearly what Gao Pan meant. Uncle Chen. Which Uncle Chen? It's your secretary Xiao Chen when you were the mayor, and the one you arranged to go to the inspection institute when you left. Now it has become the anti-corruption director of Jinghai. Oh, it's Xiao Chen. Hey, Mayor Gao, do you still remember me? Chen Qingchuan looked very excited and had a smile on his face, which was quite a skillful way of addressing him. If Gao Yuliang doesn't correct Chen Qingchuan's nickname, it means he still regards him as his own person, otherwise, can you not remember? Did Xiaochen and Jinghai have a malicious homicide incident? The impact was quite significant, and I have heard of it in Luzhou. Gao Yuliang calmly calmed Chen Qingchuan's slightly anxious heart and pointed out a new topic. Yes, there is indeed this matter. The comrades of the public security are currently investigating this case, and the city attaches great importance to this matter. Please rest assured, old leader. I think this case is not easy. This is really a terrible situation, and I strongly suspect that it is a triad-like case. Besides the public security personnel, you people who check the system should also widen your eyes and dig deep into the protective umbrella behind it. Some people forget their original intentions as soon as they wear their official hats. Xiao Chen, go ahead boldly and definitely put an end to this unhealthy trend in the Jinghai officialdom, Chen Qingchuan said in fear. Old leader, don't worry. If this matter is really a triad-like case, we will definitely investigate it thoroughly and never let a bad person go. Well, with your words, I can rest assured. Xiao Chen, I still understand your character and abilities. I've forgotten that I've been transferred from Jinghai, but I still can't help but care about what's happening here. As I get older, my mind is almost confused. You're joking, even if you're transferred from Jinghai, you're still our leader. On the other side of the phone, Gao Yuliang did not continue talking to Chen Qingchuan, but instead started chatting with Gao Pan. Xiao Pan, you're not young anymore. To start a family and start a business, start a family first and then start a business. We're just a male in the Gao family now, so you need to take good care of yourself. Uncle, why are you just like my mother? Even if I want to, the little girl needs to agree. Alright, let's not talk about this for now, let's hang up. After hanging up the phone, Gao Pan leaned against the sofa and stared straight at Chen Qingchuan, saying, Uncle Chen, have you figured it out yet? Chen Qingchuan is not a fool. Gao Yuliang's suggestion is already quite obvious, that he should write an article in that vicious murder incident and stir up the officialdom in Jinghai. Violation of laws must be investigated, and law enforcement must be strict. If the comrades of the public security really discover any clues, I will definitely not let them go. Okay, I knew Uncle Chen was a good comrade. Fill the tea with a cup of tea in one hand. To achieve the goal, serve tea and deliver guests. Chen Qingchuan stood up consciously and said, then, Xiao Pan, I'll go back first. Uncle will treat you to dinner another day. Chapter 7. Meng Yu's Invitation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hello, Gao Pan, where are you? A lively and cheerful voice came from Meng Yu. At home, what's wrong, Sister Yu? Is there anything wrong? Gao Pan lazily sat on the boss's chair, with his legs resting on the table, looking very lazy and comfortable. I have been wandering around the Jinghai area these past few days, and the changes have been quite significant. However, I haven't shown my skills at social banquets. Meng Yu's tone sounded somewhat dissatisfied. If I have nothing to do, I can't call Mr. Xiaogao anymore. I still want to invite you out to dinner tonight. I think it's better to forget about it, so as not to delay your business. Time is money. The tall young master earns a lot of money every day, and I can't afford this living allowance. Hey, why do you just change your face? It's my fault. What do you want to eat tonight? I'll treat you to it. Gao Pan felt a bit helpless. This little girl is good at everything, but she has a bit of a temper, but he likes the prickly rose. That's pretty good. Come pick me up at the entrance of the community tonight. Okay, no problem. After hanging up the phone, Gao Pan stood up directly and said, "And Gu, I won't be eating at home for lunch." Okay, I got it. Be careful outside. This time when Gao Pan went out, he didn't bring those burly bodyguards with him. It was really unsightly to have so many big men accompanying the beautiful women for dinner, which affected people's good mood. Of course, not taking them with Gao Pan does not mean that these bodyguards do not need to protect him. These guys changed into casual clothes and drove carefully, following behind Gao Pan's slightly low-key Millennium Lexus. The Millennium Lexus, also known as the Lexus LS 400, was a luxury car worth millions of dollars before the millennium. The straight front of the car does not have too many lines, combined with multiple grille. Compared to the Mercedes-Benz S-Class of the same period, the front of the car is more elegant and efficient, revealing a different kind of luxury in a low-key manner. With a press of the accelerator, the white luxury car, like a galloping horse, quickly arrived at the entrance of Meng Yu's residential area. A thrilling and graceful ride, with the body gracefully positioned in front of Meng Yu, with the passenger door facing her. The window fell down, revealing a handsome face wearing sunglasses. Get in the car, let's go. Meng Yu sat on the car door without hesitation, fastened his seatbelt, and took out a pair of sunglasses from his bag to wear in his eyes. We changed cars again. It's tall and small. Where are we going to eat today? Gao Pan glanced at Meng Yu's sunglasses box from the corner of his eye and then at her slightly worn-out backpack. I'll take you to change into suitable equipment first, then let's go, he said speaking. Gao Pan slammed on the accelerator and the speed quickly surged. This makes the bodyguards following behind in the car complain incessantly, it's too bullying. Hey, what are you thinking? Looking at Meng Yu's somewhat absent-minded expression, Gao Pan couldn't help but ask. Meng Yu regained her composure and smiled heartily. Isn't it because she's afraid that talking will affect your driving? I didn't think much, I'm just worried about the safety of a friend. Meng Yu treated Gao Pan as a friend. Now her thinking is still stuck in the gone elementary school days and has not completely changed. Therefore, there is no secret about Gao Pan and he can say anything. Is it the thug who fought in by Jinhan that day? Gao Pan's memory is very good. He remembers that day when Meng Yu had his bodyguard teach a thug a hard lesson, and at the moment before the bodyguard started, he spoke up and asked them to show mercy. He speculated that Meng Yu might know him. He's not a thug, his name is Anshin, he's a police officer. We grew up together, and he's just hanging out with those people, carrying out tasks assigned by my dad. That's it. Gao Pan didn't ask any more questions and changed the topic directly. What do you plan to do after graduating from college? Meng Yu is currently in her third year of graduate school. In this rapidly developing and golden era, a master's degree is still quite rare. Teacher, is it something else or entering the workplace? Meng Yu shook her head and said, I want to pursue my profession and become a journalist. What's good about being a journalist? It's tough, tiring, and prone to being threatened. As a time traveler, Gao Pan is quite pessimistic about the development prospects of this profession. Meng Yu smiled slightly, then leaned back in her seat and said in an envious tone, Tall young master, not everyone has a bright future without graduating from university like you. I come from an ordinary family, and if I want to live a good life, I can only rely on myself. Gao Pan joked, if you were from an ordinary family, I don't know how many students from humble backgrounds would cry with envy. But it's easy to have a bright future. Marry me. Isn't this a good day coming? Gao Pan probed by Dao. Puzzy. The girls suddenly laughed and said, Mr. Xiaogao, since we are all old classmates now, don't make fun of me. Can your family value my condition? Then Meng Yu shook her head and said, and I didn't expect to get married so early. I'll talk about dating or anything after graduation. Meng Yu is very clever. She just made it clear that Gao Pan's words were not just a joke. But due to various concerns and the presence of someone in her heart, she felt that there was not a good fit between herself and Gao Pan, so she politely refused Gao Pan. Wearing sunglasses, Gao Pan's expression couldn't be seen changing. The confession was rejected as expected. After all, with her current appearance as a playboy, any girl from a highly educated and wealthy family does not believe that she truly values others. Since Meng Yu treats this as a joke, let's change the topic. And Gao Pan also saw that the person named an Xian should have a considerable weight in his heart. However, the road ahead is still long, let's take a closer look. Gao Pan has the confidence to completely defeat Meng Yu, and chasing such a girl is the challenge. After changing Meng Yu into a new outfit and purchasing a bag and sunglasses at a high cost, the two of them got into the car and got up early to eat. Meng Yu treats him like a buddy, and he doesn't resist either. When I was a child, Gao Pan was a bit thin and weak, and not tall either. Although he was a traveler, sometimes he was also troubled by campus violence. Meng Yu, who has a fiery personality, often comes over to help him beat up those student thugs, and their relationship has always been good. Unfortunately, at that time, telephones were not yet widely available, and there were no mobile phones or communication software. As soon as Gao Yuliang was transferred, the two of them lost contact, which has always been a great regret in Gao Pan's heart. Being able to meet again proves that there is still a considerable fate between the two. Why don't we go eat at that Western restaurant today? Meng Yu smiled slightly and said, okay, this time it's my treat. You're not allowed to pay in advance. P.S. Can you give me some flowers and some tickets? Chapter 8. I want to learn a foreign language, seeking flowers and votes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After scheduling a meeting with Meng Yu, 2 more days passed. Today is the 20th of the first lunar month, the day when Jiang invited Gao Pan to apologize to him. Uncle Chen, are you available tonight? A phone call directly reached Chen Qingchuan, and Gao Pan also planned to take someone to support the scene. Yes, what's wrong? Chen Qingchuan directly crossed the dinner section on today's itinerary and handed it over to the secretary standing beside him, indicating that he would postpone the evening arrangements. Do you know Jiang? He said he wanted to apologize to me, so you can come with me tonight. Gao Pan lay on the boss's chair, with his feet resting on a thick mahogany table, looking lazy and comfortable. Isn't it appropriate for me to follow along? Due to the sensitivity of his position, Jiang does not participate in social organizations like this on a daily basis. Oh, Uncle Chen, if I say it's appropriate, it's appropriate. Being with me can also make some people feel at ease. There is a saying that goes, strong dragons don't suppress local snakes, let alone I'm not a Jianglong. This Jinghai is still your face. What Gao Pan said is the truth. His identity is not well known to many people, except for those who have a sufficiently high level of curiosity. And at the most critical moment, he doesn't want to play under the banner of his elders, which can easily cause trouble. It's easy to say about Gao Yuliang, but it would be troublesome for someone to expose their mother's relationship. Now, having Chen Qingchuan as the backer for this bright side is just right. Little ghosts dare not provoke themselves, and the big shots also have a clear understanding of their own situation, so that they can have a green light all the way in Jinghai. To become a world-renowned businessman, the first step is to learn to plan and utilize the resources in your hands reasonably. At night, the bright moon is high. On the dock, the sea breeze blows lightly. A Mercedes-Benz from the S-Series stopped on the open ground. After getting off the passenger seat, Chen Qingchuan obsequiously pulled open the rear door and half bowed to ask Gao Pan to get off the car. "Uncle Chen, you're too polite. I'm not an uncle, and you're no longer a secretary. It's important to be serious and delegate tasks such as opening the car door to a dedicated person. What do you look like?" Chen Qingchuan touched his head slightly shyly and said, "After being a secretary for so many years, I'm used to it. I can't help but feel like this." Zhong Xiaoai's evaluation of him in People's Names is absolutely correct, as he is a person who understands current affairs. Gao Pan smiled and then waved, "Let's go." "Okay." Chen Qingchuan consciously followed Gao Pan one step behind. Gao Pan paused and then smiled and patted Chen Qingchuan's shoulder, saying, "You are an elder, how can you follow behind me?" Chen Qingchuan made a haha, and then the two of them lined up and walked towards the yacht on the river. At this moment, an Xian's expression on the dock was very unpleasant. He knows that most of the guests who come here are the leaders of various systems in Jinghai. Obviously, the people who go up the mountain are not as simple as ordinary billionaires. It is quite difficult to move them, and even the entire Jinghai area will experience an earthquake. After seeing an Xian mad donkey, Gao Pan gave them a disdainful smile. This is also Gao Pan helping an Xian hide his identity. After all, Meng Yu has already told herself that this is an undercover agent sent by the police. After seeing Gao Pan, the crazy donkey dared not go crazy anymore. Those who are qualified to go up the mountain are those who can make him disappear with just a few hands, and such a big shot is not something he can afford to offend. He decisively bowed and said, "Mr. Xiao Gao, I'm sorry." Gao Pan ignored this conversation and directly asked, "Where is Jiang?" An Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. He had heard of the name Jiang, who was the boss of by Jinhan. This so-called "going up the mountain" was created by Jiang. An Xian has caught a clue. The mad donkey smiled obsequiously and said, "Mr. Su is speaking with the leader on the ship, and I will lead you up." Gao Pan nodded but didn't say anything more. "Big brother, I also." "You wait here." The mad donkey directly rejected an Xian's proposal, while a hint of hesitation and cruelty flashed in his eyes. Just now he received a phone call, and the famous saying told him that the loyal little brother in front of him was an undercover agent of the police, asking him to deal with it quickly. At this moment, in the swimming private room, the people inside saw Chen Qingchuan's expression change one after another. Jiang was taken aback for a moment, then stood up and laughed, saying, "Oh my God, Mr. Gao, you're here. Everyone is waiting for you. Come, let me introduce you to you." Previously, Mayor Gao's nephew settled down in Jinghai. Gao Pan wore a humble smile on his face and nodded slightly at these middle-aged men. No matter how valuable his uncle's identity may be, he himself is still a white-skinned person, and the face of these people should still be given. At this moment, a tall middle-aged man walked up with a smile and said, "Xiao Pan, do you still recognize uncle? The person in front of me is Zhao Lidong, Deputy Secretary of the Political and Legal Affairs Commission of Jinghai. This person was promoted by Gao Yuliang, and there are rumors that this person is related to a big shot in the province." Gao Pan smiled and said, "Of course I do, Uncle Zhao. I even went to your house to play with Miao Miao before." "What is Miao Miao doing now?" Zhao Miao, the apple of Zhao Lidong's eye, is the desk mate at Gao Pan Elementary School. The two also lost contact with their elders who were promoted and transferred in the family. Speaking of his daughter, a soft expression flashed on Zhao Lidong's face. "Miao Miao is studying in France and is about to graduate. How about I give you her phone number later?" "Thank you, Uncle Zhao." In this room, the highest-ranking individuals are Zhao Lidong and Gao Pan, while the rest sit in chairs chatting and laughing. Jiang would sometimes pour tea and make jokes, and the underground king of Jinghai was like a clown specially designed for entertainment in this private room. At this moment, a chubby man shouted, "Jiang, it's already this time, shouldn't we have a banquet?" As he spoke, a lewd smile unconsciously appeared on his face. "Gongju, the leader hasn't spoken yet. What are you talking nonsense about?" A tall and thin middle-aged man glanced at Qinchuan beside him, looking very wary. Gao Pan gave Qinchuan a glance, and Qinchuan quickly smiled and said, "It's okay. Today, everyone talks about the wind and snow, not business." Jiang grinned wide and opened the cabin door, clapping his hands and shouting loudly, "Banquet." As the words fell, a group of beautiful women walked out laughing. Qinchuan swallowed his saliva and stared at Jiang, asking, "Well, I want to learn a foreign language." The people in the room were momentarily stunned, and then all burst into laughter. Only Jiang's expression was a bit bewildered, not knowing what Qinchuan was saying. Chapter 9. Zhao Lidong's Mediation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the private room, warblers, swallows, and swallows accompanied each other to toast. The delicious delicacies on the big table are beyond the imagination of ordinary people. The greasy middle-aged man with a big belly was full of joy, while the beauties in the room hugged each other, looking very carefree. On the level of the yacht, there is a small white table. Gao Pan and Zhao Lidong sat in comfortable chairs, while Jiang nodded and bowed to wait on the side. "Leader, Mr. Xiao Gao." A girl poured wine for Gao Pan and Zhao Lidong. Zhao Lidong waved his hand and the girl instinctively went down. Gao Pan shook the red wine in his hand and smiled, saying, "Uncle Zhao, is there anything you can do to bring me here alone to speak?" Zhao Lidong laughed heartily and clinked a cup with Gao Pan. Gao Pan's glass was slightly lower than his own, which greatly benefited Zhao Lidong. After taking a sip of the wine, Zhao Lidong said, "Xiao Pan, don't you mind me calling you that?" Gao Pan smiled and said, "You refer to me as a junior, which sounds much better than Mr. Gao." Zhao Lidong smiled and asked, "I heard you had a misunderstanding with Mr. Su a while ago. I just want to be a mediator and see if we can resolve the conflict between you." Jiang's face was filled with a joyful smile, and then he merged his palms and bent down, doing a pleasurable collision, looking like a clown trying to adjust the cheerful atmosphere. Gao Pan glanced at Jiang and shook his glass, saying, "There's no misunderstanding, at most it's just some minor conflicts." Jiang's face stiffened, while Zhao Lidong continued, "Xiao Pan, adults don't mind being petty. Mr. Su is a person with good face, and I know the specifics. It's too much and deserves criticism." Speaking, Zhao Lidong gave Jiang a fierce glare. Jiang fell to his knees with a thud and said, "Mr. Xiao Gao, I'm sorry. It was my fault last time, so please let me go." Gao Pan glanced at Jiang again, then pretended to be reluctant and said, "Since it was Uncle Zhao who begged for mercy, let's just settle that matter last time and cancel the deal." Jiang was overjoyed and said directly, "Okay, I heard that Mr. Xiao Gao wants to open a hotel, and I happen to have a piece of undeveloped land in my hand. I'll give it to Mr. Xiao Gao. Mr. Su, business is business. This kind of matter needs to be handled by a dedicated person, and I am only responsible for signing. Free land cannot be acquired, but those acquired at a low price must be discussed separately." Seeing that Gao Pan and Jiang had resolved the conflict, Zhao Lidong gave Jiang a wink, and he immediately knew how to get out of here. Zhao Lidong stood up, touched the railing, and let the slightly piercing sea breeze blow on him. "Xiao Pan, I heard that the old leader wants to go further." His tone was filled with envy and jealousy. "Gao Yuliang is younger than him, but his rank is much higher than him." Gao Pan said without hesitation, "It's all rumors, Uncle Zhao. You also know about competition for positions. Although the economy of Luzhou has increased every year in recent years, it is still slightly worse than that of Beijing and Hainan. This statement seems to have some meaning. Zhao Lidong smiled slightly and said, the old leader comes from a scholarly cadre background, and this is a doctoral student who has been truly tested. Then he changed the topic and said, by the way, this is Miao Miao's phone number. You remember it. Miao Miao will be returning to China in a few days. You are all old classmates now, and this child has regretted losing contact with each other more than once. If it's convenient, could you pick me up on my behalf? Gao Pan nodded with a smile and said, of course it's possible. This can give her a surprise. Gao Pan also misses his desk mate in elementary school very much. Unlike Meng Yu, who has a fiery personality, Zhao Miao is a gentle girl with a delicate personality. She is a receiver of tears and also the class monitor and study committee member of their class at that time. I haven't seen her for so many years, and I don't know what that little girl looks like now. Looking down at his watch, Zhao Lidong smiled and said, let's go. Uncle Zhao, do you also want to learn a foreign language with Uncle Chen? Said Gao Pan half-jokingly. A foreign language is just a joke. Jiang is just a dirty boss who doesn't know how to use the ocean horse as a facade on the ship. This made Chen Qingchuan not very happy. Zhao Lidong shook his head and said, learn a foreign language. If you don't leave, you'll be detained by the Coast Guard. Today, an undercover agent infiltrated the ship. At the same time, the Jinghai Public Security Command Center. Terminate the action. Meng Dehai suddenly came in from outside and gave orders. All the police officers changed their faces. Meng Yu. Meng Dehai's face was gloomy as he almost dripped out of the water. This is the decision of the Municipal Party Committee. You have all seen who the people on the ship are. If we really catch them, what a big joke we'll have to make tomorrow. Terminate the action. These young people, you look at me, I look at you, and in the end, they can only sigh and obey orders. Yes. After everyone had left, and Changlin finally spoke up and said, Old Meng, what's going on here? Meng Dehai furrowed his brows and shook his head, saying, you know there's going to be a change of leadership soon. Secretary, he means to be stable and not make any big news for him at this time. And Changlin slammed the table hard and could only leave with a sigh. At this moment, on the river surface, another ship docked with the yacht where Gao Pan was located. The people in the yacht quickly boarded the new boat. Gao Pan glanced into the distance and saw a small boat with dim lights on. Obviously, 80% of that undercover agent will be dealt with. However, Gao Pan is too lazy to take care of it, as it is not his business. He is just an ordinary businessman, accepting banquets is a normal thing. If you want to catch him, you need to first seize evidence of his illegal activities, and he did not do anything on the ship. If you're unlucky, it's also unlucky for Su Jiang. However, Gao Pan believes that at this time, the person surnamed he will definitely stabilize various lids. Without Gao Pan, a small undercover agent would not be able to turn over any flowers. Unfortunately, Gao Pan is here. The news of the police undercover agent's death is not so easy to suppress, and the death and sacrifice of police officers in any era is a major event. Moreover, it is such an unclear and unproductive sacrifice. It's quite easy for Gao Pan to expose this matter to the province. Gao Yuliang teaches and educates at Handong University, and now there are many of his students in the political and legal system. Coincidentally, Qi Tongwei, the senior brother of Gao Pan, is now the director of the Provincial Public Security Anti-Gang Office. Coming to Jinghai may bring special gains, at least reducing Gao Yuliang's competition. Reality and politics are so cruel. However, to Gao Pan's disappointment, an Xian did not die. He was rescued by the Coast Guard. Chapter 10. First encounter with an Xian, seeking flowers and tickets. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Although the position was transferred, Gao Pan and his team were still blocked by the maritime police and brought the ship to inquire. Oh, little comrade, take it easy. Don't be so excited. Zhao Lidong smiled and said to the Coast Guard who asked him, we also gathered for work. It's all for the development of the city, please understand everyone. But Chen Qingchuan pretended to be serious and said, what's good about him? He is always a big businessman from the provincial capital, coming to develop and repay his hometown. Can we deny his face when he invites us? Moreover, if you want to arrest someone, you need evidence. But do you have any evidence? There are many waitresses, but it was arranged by Mr. Su, and we can't make the decision. If you want to detain us, you need evidence, right? And investigating us is also a comrade from the Discipline Inspection Commission coming over. Zhao Lidong said with a stern face, I am in charge of the political and legal system. How could I know to violate the law? Little comrade, do you know how much impact your detention of us will have on the city? Young people, being impulsive is a good thing, but we should learn to judge current events. This is a blatant threat. The Coast Guard gritted his teeth and realized that the people in front of him were not something he could afford to offend. Without evidence to prove their crimes, he could only order, let them go. The ship stopped at the dock. The whole group left. Zhao Lidong patted Gao Pan's shoulder and said, Xiao Pan, it's thanks to you this time, otherwise it wouldn't have been so easy to pass. Gao Pan smiled and said, it's a small gesture, you're talking too much. Okay, let's meet again another day. As he spoke, Zhao Lidong boarded the car that his secretary had arrived in. And Gao Pan was also picked up by the driver. Just as he got on the car, Gao Pan made a phone call. Hello, uncle. I didn't rest, what's wrong, Xiao Pan? As expected, the water in Jinghai has indeed become mixed. It seems that a police undercover agent has been disposed of today. Would you like to take this opportunity to let senior brother Qi come over? Let me think about it, don't worry for now, wait and see what happens. It's not yet time, what else have you gained in the past 2 days? It's nothing, I just got in touch with Zhao Lidong. Uncle, how do you feel about this person? Zhao Lidong. This person has a meticulous mind and a deep understanding of the city, and is not a good character to get along with. You should be careful when dealing with him and not be caught with any tricks, I know. There's nothing else, uncle, I'll hang up for now. Wait, your mother said that woman of yours. Gao Pan hung up the phone and leaned directly against the seat. There was nothing to say overnight. In the morning, the phone rang with a ringing bell. Hello, who is it? Awakened early in the morning, Gao Pan felt a bit angry when he woke up. Meng Yu, accompany me to the hospital today to see someone. Upon hearing that it was Meng Yu, Gao Pan suddenly came to his senses and said, who are you going to see? When I was young, I was the undercover agent who worked as a thug I saw last time at Buckingham. Yesterday's mission had some issues and I almost got killed. Oh, who is that? Gao Pan has a deep impression of an ex-Ian. He knew that Anshin was his rival in love, but Gao Pan knew very well that Anshin would not be his opponent. Because Anshin cannot give Meng Yu the life she wants. Meng Yu cannot live with someone who makes a living on the tip of a knife. Hospitals, wards. A young man with a flat head was kneeling on the ground coughing. Meng Yu pushed open the door and sat down on an ex-Ian's back. Ah, grandma, come down quickly. I broke a rib. Ah, sorry. Meng Yu came down and stuck out her tongue. An ex-Ian stood up and turned around, suddenly stunned. The man standing with Meng Yu is very familiar. Her slightly curled hair was combed into 3 or 7 parts, and she wore a pair of silver glasses. He was wearing a black slim-fitting suit, which accentuated his tall figure. The man had a strong scholarly aura, and his every move could be described as elegant. Anshin suddenly got excited and grabbed onto Gao Pan's expensive imported brand tie, angrily asking, "What did you do on the yacht yesterday? I will definitely catch evidence of your violation." "Anshin, what are you going crazy about?" Meng Yu slapped an Xian's hand open. Gao Pan was somewhat angry and said, "Officer N, calm down. Yesterday I was on the ship discussing projects and business, and I was also invited to come over. Who knew that your police had already set their sights on that ship?" An Xian looked at Gao Pan with suspicion. Meng Yu said angrily, "Anshin, what are you doing? Gao Pan is my good friend. He came back to Jinghai to invest, and I also heard from my father about yesterday's incident. Since you suspect him of committing a crime, you have to provide evidence. You never suspect anything, don't you know?" Anshin finally calmed down slightly. Gao Pan reorganized his tie, while Meng Yu forcefully pressed an Xian's head to apologize. "I'm sorry, he has been like this since he was young, his mind is too narrow-minded. Facing beautiful women, Gao Pan's attitude has always been gentle. It's okay, Officer, and must be a serious and responsible good police officer. He is the type that people like the most. If all police officers were like Officer N, the world would be peaceful." What Gao Pan said is the truth. He could feel that the stunned young man in front of him was a good person who adhered to the concept of justice. He was not angry when such a person offended him for a moment. Anshin also lowered her head and said, "Sorry, Mr. Gao, I had an impulse. But could you tell me who organized yesterday's party?" "Jiang." Gao Pan readily told an Xian the name. Although this undercover agent did not sacrifice himself at sea, it made him feel a bit regretful. But if he can be used to stir up this capital C, it may not necessarily be a good move. Thinking of this, Gao Pan stepped forward and patted an Xian's shoulder, showing a cheerful smile. "Officer N, please believe that I am a good person. If there is anything I need to cooperate with you, you can always have Meng Yu call me. What businessmen like us need the most is a safe business environment, all of which require your hard work." An Xian said solemnly, "Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Gao." Meng Yu sighed and said, "Anshin, please be more cautious. Your life is almost lost. Don't be too stubborn. Come see you again when you have time, let's go first." Gao Pan smiled and said, "Sister Yu, I happen to be free at noon today. Why don't I go visit Uncle Meng today?" "Today? All right. I'll give Lao Meng a call first to see if he's available today."